We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to the Manumit Podcast with Glenn Johnson, registered investment advisor at Jabez Financial. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull, and join you on the line here, wanting you to remember that Glenn and his team would love to receive you. They would love to have that conversation to get your financial journey going. jabezfinancial.com out of Uncasville, Connecticut there. And I love the tagline on the podcast here, Glenn, and good day to you. It's creating financial freedom through purpose-driven planning. I really love that. And, you know, you always show up at this, Glenn, with a smile on your face. A lot of people are just listening to this, so they hear the smile, but purpose-driven. We got to give it a purpose, right, Glenn?
That's right. That's what it's all about.
Well, this is the Manumit Podcast, and we've explained a few episodes ago what the Manumit name means. It means about freedom or liberation, and you have an organization that's just celebrated a big milestone that's closely related.
Yeah. On October 4th, 8 years ago is when Manumit United was initially founded. And we've had a number of events each year. And because we started on October 4th in 2016, our first major event was our Christmas party. And that's what we've got scheduled for this year, coming up on December 16th.
Okay, the December 16th Manumit United Christmas party.
Yes.
And who gets to attend that, and what is your organization trying to do? It's 501c3, right? So what are you trying to achieve?
Well, it's about bringing different types of people together. So I've got a number of clients and also some friends and some people from our church. And even some kids. So it's a medley of different people that can get together, enjoy the Christmas season. And, you know, we're really looking forward to it because we have games, and we'll have some food and live music. And this year we're even having a photo booth.
Photo booth. Okay, now are people going to get to could be dress up as different things, or is it just standard photos, or what? I certainly hope everyone is dressed. Yes. Well, I mean, usually the photo booths, they have you can put stuff on your face, like glasses or, feather boas or things like that. Is that,
Well, I hadn't even considered that, but that's probably a good idea to have some props for that.
Some props. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. You're better at this than me. Yeah, props. Okay, that's what we do. Well, props to you for getting that going for your crew over there and Manumit United. If somebody listening to this wants to be involved somehow, is it people only in Connecticut? Is this a nationwide thing? Is it virtual, in person? How do they interface with Manumit United?
Well, it's definitely, our Christmas party is obviously local, so we're having that at the barn in Groton, Connecticut on Monday night from 6 to 9. And I would definitely need people to give a call to the office and give us confirm that they're coming. So we have an adequate amount of food. And what's great about this place is we're also able to have people bring their own dessert or finger food. And so people can show up, not just have the food that we'll have there, but people can bring something and share it and make it more of their own.
I like that. I like the little potluck situation.
Yeah.
I like that. Very good. Well, Manumit United, if you want to be involved in that and that part of the Connecticut for sure, jabezfinancial.com or the manumitpodcast.com, either way, and you can scroll through and eventually find that. And I'm sure that people could just Google Manumit United and Glenn Johnson, Glenn with two N's, and it's going to come up. So we want them to get involved. Well, this is a time of year. It's good to put a smile on our face and talk about a Christmas party and talk about helping other people, because people are tense this time of year. A lot of people are. I'm not one of them. I don't let myself get buffeted too much by the news cycle and the waves of the election, especially. But the idea of a change in administration or the continuation of one, or either way, we're getting a new president, whether it's one for this administration or one from the next, it gives people a lot of angst, Glenn. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that march into Jabez Financial or go to jabezfinancial.com and have a lot of concerns. So how do you navigate people through these concerns about what is, and seems like it always is every 4 years, the topic of the year?
That's right. And it's really a matter of uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, there's instability, there's insecurity, there's indecisiveness, and then people become paralyzed. When there's this much uncertainty and this much, I almost want to say civil unrest right now, people will go into that fight or flight type of mode. And usually during October, everybody's anticipating the October surprise, right?
Right.
There's always some sort of news coming up before the election. What ball's going to drop now, or what hurricane's going
Yeah.
to hit, or what disaster? And during these times of tremendous uncertainty, this is where it becomes increasingly important to be able to have a plan that's in place, that you know how things, that you've got to have some level of certainty. And you do that by determining, well, what is it that I have specific control over? What do I have specific influence over? And am I doing my best to take care of what I can take care of?
Well, for sure. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, am I doing my best? And we'll get that in a broader sense too in a future episode about how am I doing my best. But when it comes to the election, you mentioned fight or flight. Someone comes in, or you've done this a long time. You've interfaced with people for a long time. I could think about fight or flight and what it means in terms of conflict or relationships. But what is an example of that in finances? So, I have these assets and they're in these buckets. Now I'm doing fight or flight. I'm all scared. What does that actually look at? What are some mistakes that people make, and how do you coach them through making those? Because I'm sure it's easy to do with a click of a button these days.
It is. And a lot of times, take the flight, for example. When somebody gets scared of the market, what do? They bail out. They just say, all right, that's it. They finally had it with all of the risk exposure. Look, there's lots of reasons to want to hedge against market risk, especially right now. But what people will do is they'll totally bail out. They'll pull everything out. And I was talking with a client just the other day, and he was explaining how his account, it dropped about 80% in 2008. Because he was making a fortune leading up to that. And like I said, in his case, he lost 80% in 2008. And at that time, that's when he totally bailed out. And to this day, still hasn't recovered from that.
Wow.
So that's when you getting out at the wrong time. So anytime somebody's making a fear-based decision, it's usually a bad idea. It usually doesn't end well. So there's that.
So there's that. So that's the flight scenario. What would a fight one be, or is there one here? I do have trouble picturing, like, how do you fight a bull or bear market? I don't know. I don't want to fight a bull or a bear. Okay, but now what do you do when people fight, quote unquote, with assets in this kind of fear-based situation?
Right. Well, that is actually allowing yourself to face the reality of what's taking place. And a lot of times, so the flight is a matter of, all right, I don't know what's happening. I'm going to bail out. I'm going to get out. And another way of acting out of fear also is say, well, you know what? I'm going to go all in. And when they take their money, it's all right, now I'm just going to put everything I can into the riskiest stuff out there, and I'm going to see this through. And they make a commitment to riding the wave all the way down and hopefully riding it all the way back up again. But when it comes to actually fighting against it, that's a matter of actually looking at the realities of what's taking place, even if you don't like it. It's a matter of, okay, we look at the harsh realities. Okay, our economy is at an all-time high. There's no real fundamental reasons for the stock market to be as high as it is right now. And as much as I love gaining all these gains, those Magnificent Seven have really added a lot of value to people's portfolio. But if we want to be realistic about it, it's not sustainable. There has to be. And so if we're going to fight against this by allowing ourselves to pass on the notion that things are going to continue to go up and up and up.
So when I'm hearing fight or flight, I'm thinking, okay, flight is generally a negative thing. You're making a fear-based decision, whereas fight is accepting the reality of something. Is there a bad version of fight in this scenario where that things are tense and people are fight or flight? Because I think, to me, when I think fight or flight in relationships, I'm thinking, well, I'm either leaving someone or I'm fighting someone. They're both bad. But in this situation, if I'm understanding you correct, fight sounds more positive. Is there a negative to the first F word?
Yeah, there could be. Sorry.
We were here to laugh and smile. Listen, life is too short not to do that.
Well, you're asking me, is there a negative to the F word? And that's what I'm saying. All right. Well, anyway, back on topic here. So is there a negative to the fight? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Is there a negative in the financial sense to the fight part of fight and flight?
There is a negative aspect of fighting back, depending upon your motivation. If your motivation is greed, it will work against you. Like there's this little needle on the website. What's driving the market right now? Is it fear or greed? Right. And there's that fight or flight type of thing. And which of those is good? Neither of them are good. So what we want to fight is we don't want to fight from a standpoint of greed or out of vengeance or out of desperation. Like, all right, I've got to fight against this because I took this loss and now I've got to assume this risk so I can get back to where I need to be. I'm going to fight my way through it. It's the wrong motivation. And when we really want to fight something from a holistic perspective, what we want to do is step back, look at the realities of it, allow ourselves to look at the facts without being emotionally involved. Then we can make a wiser decision.
That common theme, it seems like, spreads as a thread through a lot of the things that you've talked about. In the past episodes, we've talked about making your money work for you and taking control of your financial future. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about just having confidence in your portfolio. All of it. It seems like it's taking the average. It's okay. You're making big decisions that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars or even more. Do you want to do this with a completely selfish motivation, like, or do you want to do this with this like scared one? No, you want to shoot the gap. So my last question to you before we wrap up this episode of the Manumit Podcast, Glenn, how do you coach people through that? They walk into JBez Financial, they set up a virtual meeting, whatever it is, jbezfinancial.com. They come in all one way or the other. What do you do to give them a cool glass of water?
Well, we start with giving them a cool glass of water.
Hey, there we go.
Right. And realizing, I want to commend people when they come in for actually taking the time to pay attention to this. Not everybody's a financial advisor. That's why otherwise they wouldn't have other careers. So they're already stepping outside of their normal comfort zone, doing something that they're not used to doing. And this is where, although my clients may come in without a tremendous financial education, although some of them do, and it's real exciting to see that.
Yeah.
But you got to commend people for getting out of their comfort zone and addressing something that it's not normally on their task list. And knowing that they're walking through it with somebody that genuinely cares about their success more than their friendship, and their achievement of their goals is of a greater priority than their initial comfort. Now they can trust that the outcome is going to be to their advantage.
I like that. Someone that cares about more their success than their friendship. That's a great way to put that, Glenn. Well, they go to jbezfinancial.com. Say it's a new listener. Someone has done what I always try to end these shows telling them to do. Okay. I mean, my gosh, you've written for Forbes, you know your stuff, you're running a nonprofit. And if there's a first-time listener here that's just hearing about the Manumit Podcast, JBez Financial, they go there the first time. What happens?
Well, I would welcome to give a call to the office or even send an email if that's easier, because I know a lot of times people don't like picking up the phone and calling somebody they don't know. That can be uncomfortable. So you're
in touch with us millennials now, Glenn. You're absolutely right.
I mean, shoot, people don't even knock on their neighbor's door. They send a text and say, "I'm in your driveway." Right?
That's it.
Just saying. So whether you send an email to my initials, GBJ, at jbezfinancial.com, you can send an email or you can give us a call. And just know that you can at least open the door, because every problem we have here's a little wisdom key. Every problem that we have in life, somebody that we know or somebody that we know of currently has the answer that we need. And it's our responsibility to step out of our comfort zone and initiate an interaction so that we can get the wisdom that we need to solve the problem that we've got. The answers are out there, but we've got to reach out. You've got to knock, and the door will be opened. You've got to call. Knock. That's right. You've got to reach out, because otherwise, if you're just sitting and suffering, well, don't complain about what you permit.
No. And if you're fearful, you mentioned at the very beginning of this episode when we got to brass tacks, okay, if you're fearful, you become paralyzed. And I've been this many times, and you're like, there's so many options and I'm scared. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to go back to reading about sports. I don't want to, I'm going to go back to focusing on something else. So I think that really is, knocking the door will be open. You got to knock first.
And it's been said, do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain.
The death of fear is certain if you do the thing you fear. Amen
right.
to that.
You've
I love that.
Face it. Blast through it. Pick up the phone. Send an email. Do something. Reach out. No one's going to force you to do anything against your will. And you can trust your own judgment that if you get the wisdom and the information that you need, you can make better decisions.
And how that's done, jbezfinancial.com. And hey, I even got the email address right now, gbj@jbezfinancial.com. That doesn't go to a robot. That goes to Glenn. All right. It's the same address I use when we set up these Manumit podcasts. We thank you for listening to the Manumit podcast here, creating financial freedom through purpose-driven. The words purpose and driven. Creating financial freedom through purpose-driven planning. jbezfinancial.com. Glenn, thanks for spending some time and enlightening us today, sir.
You too, Doug. Thank you.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank everybody for listening to the Manumit Podcast. Subscribe and be sure to pass this on to people you know that you think you need it. You can find this on Apple and Spotify and on the ManumitPodcast.com. We got another episode coming your way shortly, so stay tuned. And thanks again for listening to the Manumit Podcast.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Glenn Johnson Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.